You're listening to The Money Hour with your host, Tina Mitchell, and co-host, Keelan Harvey on Alternative Talk AM 1150. Now, back to the show with local mortgage experts Tina Mitchell and Keelan Harvey.
You are listening to The Money Hour on 1150 AM KKNW, the Friday, June 26th virtual show. Because of COVID-19, our show is temporarily virtual. You can catch us on podcast or on air at 1150 AM KKNW on Saturday at 3 p.m. with a rebroadcast on Sunday at 8 a.m. I am your host, Tina Mitchell.
And I'm your co-host, Keelan Harvey.
We are here to help you build a strong financial blueprint 1 week and one show at a time. If you're listening to our show at a different time of day, you are listening to a rebroadcast, but we're here to answer any questions or connect you with the guests that we have on the show. The show number 1-855-400-1150 or online at themoneyhour.com. And now in studio, we have Tiffany Gough of Edward Jones. You are perfectly flawed and rarer than any diamond right here in 1150 AM KKNW. Tiffany, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. This is great.
Yeah, very excited to have you. A little bit about Tiffany. Tiffany has been in the financial services industry since 1990. Over the years, she has helped many through some difficult times while working on their financial goals. She is a financial advisor with an office in Seattle. In her debut book, she shares some of the tools that helped her clients with challenges, helped her clients with challenges as well as others. She grew up in Seattle, and her office is less than 5 miles from her childhood home. She's married and has 2 grown bonus sons, aka the stepsons, who reside in Toronto, Ontario, Canada.
Yeah.
Tiffany, let's start out with your book. I know you're a financial advisor with Edward Jones. You help people on all their finances, retirement planning, managing money, but your book has nothing to do with any of that. Can you tell us a little bit about your book?
Yeah, it's kind of a wild story. I just found that I kept helping people over and over the years, telling them stories that I've gone through in my past, because I kept hearing people struggling with their self-worth, their perfectionism, labels, feeling unloved, and their past reliving in their present. And I kept finding that was also impacting their money too, because all those things are so connected. So I kept retelling the stories, and one of my clients was just like, you have got to share this with the world. And I was just like, who am I to write this book? I don't have all my crap together. You know what I mean? I got it a little bit more together than some, but I still don't feel like I'm all the way there. But, I really went out on a limb and I said, okay. And here I am. So yeah, this is my pretty book. It's so pretty.
Oh, that's so beautiful, Tiffany, and congratulations. I'm so excited for you. When you can put your authentic self out there and be able to help people through your words and story, I love it, because when people tell their story, people can relate and connect their own story. So Tiffany, I would love for you today to share a little bit about your story to our listeners.
Sure. So I got some criticism for not sharing every dirty little secret in my life, in my story, in my book. And the reason why people were thinking that they could connect more, but I didn't want to do that because there are so many ugly things from my past that I don't want to have any more air to life. You know what I mean? It took enough of my life growing through them. So I don't want to bring new life into them. And I also wanted my book to be able to be read by young preteens, because these are all things that preteens are going through too, with the bullying, the labeling, and stuff like that too. So I didn't want them to have PTSD from reading my story. There are certain parts of my story I do share through the book and they're there for a reason, but they're ones that are parts that can really show the good part of the past. You know what I mean? So I think most of us have really got ugly stuff from our past that we don't want to share. And who hasn't had a perfect life? I mean, nobody's had a perfect life, right? We've all had crap. So, and I don't want people to try to compare themselves to mine and mine to theirs. So that's why.
Yeah. And I love, especially with the industry that you're in, Tiffany, because you said people, when they're emotionally connected to something negative, 100% it's going to have an impact on everything in their life, especially their finances.
It's crazy, especially if you're feeling unloved. You're ending up buying a bunch of stuff that you probably shouldn't be buying.
See, you can't help it. There's the finance side in you.
I know.
Well, in the world we live in today, it seems like a lot of division, and that's the most heartbreaking thing for me, because I just love people of everything, and I think labels are a big part of that. So, I mean, in your opinion, why do you think that people get so caught up with these labels?
Well, there's interesting things. There can be good labels and there can be bad labels. There can be, labels like you're really brilliant, you're really smart. Those are all great. Then you get the icky ones like you're stupid, you're dyslexic, you're fat, you're ugly, you're unlovable, all those other things. And the problem is a lot of times, when they're going through trauma, you hear these labels that you get told, you're ADHD, you're ADD, you can't do these things. You're basically put in a box, and that's what that label does to some people. It puts them in a box, and they can't think of trying anything because they say, oh, if this person has ADHD or dyslexia, they can't do this for a living. They can't change this. They can't do anything like that. And that's where the problem is for me with the labels. People get so trapped up in the word of whatever that label is that they can't see outside of it. I see it all the time with parents of kids that are disabled, with some learning disabled or physically disabled, and they say they can't do this. And I'm like, have you let them try? And they're like, no. And the minute I say that, I said, let's take the block off and let's try to see what happens. And it's been amazing to see when they say, you can do anything you want to do. Let's try it. So and there's a whole big chapter in my book about labels and their association. So.
Well, I think part of that too is how many new labels are created every single day, it seems, in our society today. And it's crazy. And I mean, all these boxes and divisions and people are really on their high horse now. And I think they really just need to take their shoes off before they try to put somebody else's on. And be, like Gandhi said, be the change you wish to see. It's all in action. So get out there and just love people and give them the benefit of the doubt. And Pastor Chris, my buddy and pastor, says it best. One of my favorite words is grace. Have some grace in this world right now. And it's such a loving word. So get out there and really, show that love and grace to other individuals, and understand you don't know what they're going through. So just be what what you can be to help.
Yeah. And I love that. And I always say that with all the labels can actually be a benefit if you have just one person. If you have one person that loves you so much, authentically believes that you can conquer the world, those labels actually then can be a positive thing when you have somebody fighting. The challenge is when you don't have anybody there that's going to fight for you and let you know what? You go, girl, you show them, even with those labels, you are a rock star. So, So Tiffany, let's talk about the diamond process. Explain a little bit about that.
So I've always had a passion for jewelry, and I actually did some lapidary faceting and stuff like that with stones. And I use this theory in my book about how that we are all like an uncut diamond, like, kind of bumpy and ugly and got lots of little weird shapes and, some problems with it. But everything in life facets those bad parts off or the good parts off to make you the diamond that you're supposed to be. And that's why I love the diamond, because you can think about a raw diamond being kind of ugly, just like most babies are not really that cute when they're born. I hate to tell you that, but it's true. They're kind of squishy, weird, but they become this beautiful kid and child later and adult later. Those are all those things that happen with those diamond cuts. And the thing is there can be good cuts and bad cuts with a diamond, right? And, when you're going through those cuts, and like you were saying earlier about making sure to teach people, take care of people with grace, because you don't know what they're going through. Somebody may be going through a really hard time right then, and you may not know that. There are good cuts like getting married. There are bad cuts like getting divorced. There are, losing a baby, having a baby. Those are all different facets in your diamond. And I really believe that eventually when our diamond is perfect, that's when we die. That's my thought.
That's really beautiful. That's really cool. Diamonds are made under pressure too, Tiffany, right? So we have all these pressures in life. and it's crazy that it creates the most beautiful stone in the world. So I love your analogy. I think that's so great. Let's talk a little bit tell me about Find Your Fight.
So originally the book was going to be Find Your Fight, because that's a huge part of my message. I'm going to give you the short version. I was, when I was a teen, actually a preteen, I was in a sledding accident in Seattle when we had one of the worst snow seasons that we ever had. And I collided with a fire hydrant. Hint, fire hydrants don't move. You hit a fire hydrant going down a hill, a big, big hill, with your head, you get pretty messed up. So I was in a massive injuries, lost a ton of blood, and they didn't expect me to live. And it's pretty amazing. And I had to find the fight to survive in that. And I really think we all have those finding your fights. Maybe they're not as dramatic as that, but we need to find a point where we stand our ground and say, we are going to fight. And that's a big part of my book.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I can't wait to read it. Tiffany, so as we're wrapping up our time here with you, can you share what is your 30 seconds of truth?
Okay. My 30 seconds is, we don't know how much time we have on this earth. We don't all get extra time on the clock. So use your time wisely. There's only something that you can do in this world. Nobody else can do it, only you. If you don't do it, it dies with you. Do it relentlessly and with purpose, or else it dies with you.
So Tiffany, that's beautiful. As we close here with you, can you give a shout out for your book and how do people find it?
Sure. You can I'm on Instagram, Facebook, all over the place. And my website is You Are Perfectly Flawed. And those are my Instagram and Facebook handles as well. So check me out.
So excited. Tiffany, thank you so much for joining us in studio today.
Thanks for having me.
Coming up next on The Money Hour, why is text marketing so important now? Andre Cunningham of Recurring Point Mobile, right here at 1150 AM KKNW.